From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Cascade Paint and Supply is Reading's oldest family-owned paint store, established in 1953. We are the largest Dunn Edwards dealer in the nation, and most of our products are made in the U.S. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are ready to answer your questions and help you today.
Happy Wednesday to you all. Well, that summer heat, that's going to continue here for the week. Now, we are right now we're in the middle of just a slight downward trend. And I say slight when we shave off a degree or two over the next couple of days. That is it. It's nothing all that noticeable. And then we see an increase in our temperatures going into the weekend. But we're also looking at improving fire weather conditions. You know, the wind's pretty gusty, especially for parts of the valley today, or at least this morning. But the winds will subside. They'll get even weaker going into the next few days. We're also looking at the potential for some mountain showers and thunderstorms. Futurecast wants to paint in some activity as early as tomorrow on Thursday, but I'm not really anticipating that at this point. It's going to be mainly more like the late weekend and early next week that we can see that potential for some of the mountains, and then a cooling trend going through next week. We're not talking about dropping down the 60s or 70s or anything like that, but at least we should be steering away from those triple digits here and more like the low 90s near the end of next week for the valley. And maybe a few select spots could get in the upper 80s. We'll see. All right, so here's your Wednesday, June 4th. Krueger's Quickcasts getting you out the door here for this morning. And you can see these temperatures are still going to be pretty warm out there, especially with those gusty winds for the north end of the valley. It may be closer to the upper 70s or even low 80s for places like Reading. But I do expect temperatures mainly be in the 50s for the higher elevations, although around Trinity County, around 60. So a broad ridge of high pressure that's responsible for the heat, and that low pressure to our south responsible for the gusty winds. So you can see we're starting off those winds fairly strong for the valley in particular for this morning, but by the afternoon those winds will subside. Now we're still talking 20-25 miles an hour, but you'll notice the winds won't be quite as strong. Still pretty gusty along the coast, by the way, and a few gusty winds up towards Siskiyou County as well. And then it looks like as we go into Thursday morning, winds are subsiding significantly and still a bit gusty, especially out towards Crescent City, for example. All right, so for today, you see how we're shaving off a few degrees. Reading saw a high of 100 degrees yesterday, so it'll be more like 98 degrees today, 95 in Chico. Actually a little bit warmer in Chico today than it was yesterday. 78 degrees for Aden, 80 degrees for Alturas, and yeah, we're just keeping those temperatures status quo for the coast, generally in the low 60s for those daytime highs. Your 7-day forecast for the valley. You can see temperatures ticking back up by the time we get into tomorrow, especially around Friday, and we'll be around 100 degrees give or take for Friday through early next week for many of us in the valley, and really not much change going on here, right? For the coast, keeping those temperatures mid-60s, give or take, for the next 7 days. Inland, temperatures going back up again. And then we see that slight dip in our temperatures here as we go through parts of next week. Siskiyou County, Modoc County, Eastern Mountains. Notice I have included a chance for some afternoon thunderstorms on Sunday. You'll also notice, too, for the mountains in particular, we're starting to see more cloud cover. We're getting more of this afternoon convection that's pretty typical during the summer months. Don't always necessarily see rain or thunderstorms out of that, but, you know, Futurecast actually picking up on a little bit of activity as early as tomorrow, which we'll take a closer look at that and talk about that in more detail in our deep dive forecast, which is coming up. But before we do that, just have to do a quick plug here to mention and let you know that there is a 24-hour streaming channel you have access to. It's available on Fire Stick, Roku, and anywhere YouTube is available, including your smart TV. Now, my favorite part about the YouTube app is the fact that even on your TV, you can on demand watch the latest video forecasts like this one and watch it on your big screen TV. So check it out. Search for Weather NorCal, and even subscribe to the YouTube channel there on your smart TV. So the broad ridge of high pressure, that's really the key to our forecast here this week, and really what I've been talking about over the last few days. That ridge of high pressure is going to build and get stronger as we go into the weekend. But let's get into our fire weather forecast here, and you can see here these temperatures, or excuse me, the winds, as I mentioned, are going to be gusty in the morning, but they will slowly subside as we go into the afternoon hours, but still gusty at times throughout the second half of the day today. Now, the good news is the winds for the most part are dying down, but you can still see some gusty winds out along the coast. Thursday afternoon, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Hey, that's a lot better, and even a little bit better conditions here out towards the coast too. And then Friday, still, I mean, now we're getting below 15 miles per hour. So this is really great to see that we are seeing those improving conditions when it comes to fire weather risk. And you'll see that. Take a look at this. These numbers, that's the humidity levels. And you can see as we take you through this afternoon, we're getting into the moderate to high range, orange indicating the high fire weather risk. So still gusty out there, still very dry. As you can see, we're in the lower, into the single digits and lower teens for the valley, right? Then we take you into your Wednesday morning, some decent recovery. We've got 25 to 30, 35% relative humidity. Still dry, but you'll notice now we're getting out of the single digits and more like the low teens. That's still dry, by the way, but at least you can see here more of a southerly flow of winds, and we're more in the moderate range, not high. So you can clearly start to see that we are seeing improving conditions. Taking you into your Friday around midday, still pretty low humidity. We may see them drop even going into Friday afternoon, but I don't anticipate it to get much higher than the moderate fire weather risk, which is, we want to be in the low to moderate, especially at this time of the year. Now, as mentioning, as we go into the next couple of days, we're going to see the potential for thunderstorms in the mountains. We've seen thunderstorms in the Sierra over the last few days, and that's where they'll be again here for today. But going into your Thursday, by the way, you'll notice the fog too for tonight and tomorrow, but you see how we're seeing that afternoon convection here. You'll notice we're not really seeing any upper level flow, or we're seeing, the rotation of these storms moving in a counterclockwise direction or anything of that nature. When you see them kind of move erratically like that, they're kind of going north, south, east, or west. That's just basically, again, that afternoon convection. Now, I think it might be overdoing it here for tomorrow, but I do expect at the very least partly cloudy skies for most of you in the higher elevations, and still mainly sunny skies here for the valley. Now, could we see a stray sprinkle come out of some of these clouds? That's not out of the question. I'm not anticipating, though, any thunderstorms for tomorrow. And then going into Friday morning, there's that fog along the coast that continues in the afternoon. Here's midday on Friday, and we're beginning to see those clouds developing. And Futurecast may want to paint in a few showers and thunderstorms again for Friday in the mountains, but I think most of the activity at this point is going to hold off until Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. All right, so there is a look at that summer heat. There's the gusty winds. The area of low pressure down to our south, that's subsided, but we still have low pressure in general with this area of trough of low pressure, that is. High pressure off to our west, that's the bubble of heat. So we still have that northerly flow of winds for today, but again, as we start to see that area of low pressure weaken, the winds will start to subside going into the rest of the week, and then this bubble of heat moves over us by the time we get into Saturday, Sunday. And that's why I expect much warmer weather, not much, but we're talking 103, maybe 104 in the valley by the time we get into Saturday, Sunday. Then going through next week, that bubble of heat then moves down to the south and east, and look at this. Now, this looks pretty promising. If we were looking at this in the middle of the winter, there'd be a very good chance that this would swing down right into Northern California, but it's going to have a hard time doing that. And I think this will mainly stay to our north, but the main thing it's doing is it's helping to suppress the heat. So this is a long way out. This is going to change. This could, there were earlier models taking it much closer and kind of getting into Northern California. Now the latest forecast models want to keep this to our north, but you get the idea. It's not going to be as hot as we're seeing this week or this upcoming weekend, but still looking above normal temperatures here in the longer range. So you see the trending mainly upward, right? So you can see today, slight dip. Then we start to see it trend upward, and then it just slowly begins to drop here as we get towards the middle and especially the latter part of next week. All right, still looking at the healthy lake levels. Just kind of show you this daily to show that, hey, our lake levels are still looking pretty darn good out there. 91% capacity for Lake Shasta, 93% for Trinity Lake, and Lake Oroville the last few days has been up to 100% capacity. That's pretty darn good. All right, let's take a look at the wave heights. They are starting to show signs of slowly subsiding. So any hazardous seas warnings that we have out there, they should expire here later this morning. But the marine forecast still calling for gusty winds this morning, subsiding a little bit here this afternoon with your waves from the north at 12 feet at about 10 seconds and some of that patchy fog out there. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures mainly in the 90s, although as you head south of 299 in the 70s and 80s there. 67 degrees degrees in Fortuna, 86 in Alder Point, 84 for Garberville, and 71 degrees for Shelter Cove, 72 in Klamath today, 86 out in Orleans, and Willow Creek about 92 degrees. For Siskiyou County, you can see Scott Valley, Fort Jones, and Etna, you're getting up to about 82 degrees today, 87 for Happy Camp, and there you can see for the I-5 corridor here, upper 70s to low 80s for your daytime highs. And we start to see that potential for afternoon thunderstorms here for parts of Siskiyou County as well. All right, Modoc County, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's your best chance for afternoon thunderstorms. If we see any, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday, just the afternoon convective clouds that we'll see. 78 degrees out for a high today in Westwood, 81 for Chester, 85 for Paradise, and Susanville, in Eastern Mountains in general, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, you've got the chance. And if anybody sees a chance for thunderstorms before Sunday, it would be in the Eastern Mountains, including tomorrow, but we'll, of course, keep a close eye on that. Your Valley neighborhood forecast in the south, we're generally looking in the mid-90s for your daytime highs today. Your 7-day forecast for Chico, we're back up to the upper 90s to around 100 degrees by the time we do get into the weekend. And we take you at the valley to the north, 98 degrees for Redding, Anderson, Cottonwood, Red Bluff, 98 for Palestidro, 92 though for Whiskeytown and Lakehead, a high of about 91 degrees. There's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding, and there you can see we're back up to about 100 degrees by Friday, and just a little over 100 for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And we do have that downward trend in our temperatures as we take you through next week. That's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Have a great morning.